Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our Friday Lifestyle Biohack webinar. It's going to be interesting talking about some of the reality that we need to deal with. And, when we really understand where health comes from and we get that paradigm, life can change for us. Okay. We have amazing genes, and I mean that GENES. Our health comes from our habitat or our environment or our lifestyle choices. This determines how we express our genes' potential. Okay. We're all genetic superstars. We all have ancestors that had to survive for millennia to get us here. All right. So why are we so sick as a society? We've industrialized. We've created unhealthy environments and unhealthy lifestyle choices that are so convenient. And what happens is now, as people are getting sick, we think we're genetically weak, but we're not. Genetically, we are the strongest humans that have ever lived, but we're living in the sickest environment and making the sickest choices, whether we know it or not. So again, when you understand the health paradigm and your true genetic potential, you can hopefully make extremely better choices as you move forward. So good morning to everyone and welcome, Dr. Chris. We're going to have a great webinar. Yes.
What a great introduction. I so agree with everything you're saying. We constantly impress upon everyone we're energy beings first, and our bodies are a continuous flow of matter and energy, and it starts with the solar energy from the sun and the magnetic energy from the earth, and the sun makes the plants through photosynthesis grow, and they store that solar energy, and then we eat the plants, and we release that energy. And it's the mitochondria that are the key role players in that whole function, that process of releasing energy. And when we understand the mitochondria, we understand now that our muscles are actually an organ. We refer to them as just the individual muscles, but they're really a system of their own. And they store the bulk of the mitochondria. The numbers and the strength of our mitochondria are in our muscles. So we're going to emphasize that today and help you understand how that works. So on this next slide, we're looking at balancing and rejuvenating every function of the body. And the key to our formulas is that they support the signaling and communication and this exchange of energy throughout the whole structure, starting with the mitochondria. So we're going to highlight the muscles today because that's where the majority of our mitochondria are. And then you'll see why they play such a key role in healthy cells and healthy tissue, healthy organs, and healthy systems. So, Dr. Tina, you want to talk a little bit about how we just support the dynamics and nutrition?
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to make a comment. When you think, and we've all been taught that our skin is the largest organ, and we're going to help you to maybe shift your mindset a little bit and to understand that your muscle is the largest organ. So as you're aging, what's happening to your muscle and what you need to do about that. So, we are not, just in a dietary crisis, it's nutritional. And we've all been told about these dietary cults, religions, ideologies. And unfortunately, we just buy into them. Okay, let's do, keto, or let's do, raw foods. Let's do vegan. Let's do, and there's all these different types of diets. But the bottom line is that, If you just follow one all the time, you could end up in some trouble here. And so when we have to look at our choices, we have to look at where are we getting our nutrients from? And our nutrients, again, are not even, in our soil anymore, because all of these elements have been depleted. And so we have to be very conscientious of getting those minerals back into our bodies, and not just focusing on, well, I think that vegan is number one, or paleo, or keto, or carnivore, or Mediterranean. We've got to get that variety in, so that all of the different dynamics that go on within our body has the nutritional value to keep us healthy and genetically strong. There's just has to be a different mindset with all of this. Dr. Chris?
I want to emphasize what you said from the beginning. We're genetically, we've got it all there, and it's the environment that's changed. And when we can understand that and build our musculature, a 70-year-old person can have the same energy and the mitochondrial function in their cells as a 20-year-old. And that's what we're trying to help everyone understand. It's these choices that we make with our diet and our lifestyle that really age us, accelerate the aging process. So our formulas and our lifestyle recommendations are the key to longevity. Back to
We
you,
are
Dr.
going to
Tina.
hone in on that one big time today. So, we can't blame this slope over here on the right-hand side. On the right, this is where you see chronic degenerative diseases just on the rise. They're higher than ever. Cancer, obesity, asthma, liver disease. And this is crazy. We can't blame our genetics for this. Our genes are strong, okay? But what has gone up exponentially, with cancer and obesity and diabetes and all of these other areas, plus, we didn't even talk about autism and ADD or ADHD. The infertility, people are more angry, there's more depression, there's more anxiety. All of these things are around illness and the choices that we're making with what our environment is. In other words, we're eating on the left-hand side, you can see that our nutritional value, our minerals have gone down exponentially. Our bodies are not being fed. Okay, they're not being nurtured with the right amounts of minerals and nutrients that we used to have. I find it interesting. If you just took this screen and cut it in half and laid them over each other, you can almost see that they're a mirror of one another. As the nutritional value has gone down, you can see all of these other areas increasing. And we have to be very conscientious and make better choices and get that nutrition back into our system. Okay, because what's going to happen is the next generation is going to come in. They're going to have a weaker system starting out of the gate if you don't have that good nutritional value in your body. Dr. Chris?
Well, let's show what it looks like in the scientific realm. This is a little complex from the standpoint of understanding all the elements of the planet, but at the same time, reflects what the depletion really means, because we all started out with the soil that was full of all the elements that our bodies have been raised and evolved with. And over the years, that depletion that the charts that Dr. Tina just explained is creating the problems that we have. We see that muscle strength declines 1.5% per year as we age up to 50 to 60. And then it declines as much as 3% when we get into our 60s and 70s. So this loss is directly correlated to the loss of the mineralization and the fortification. So that's why diseases are over 80% at a certain age. And because things are so depleted today, we're seeing that younger and younger individuals are getting chronic degenerative diseases that are generally for the elderly. So looking at this chart tells you and helps you understand that our soil was fed, everything in the beginning of this planet was underwater, and all the elements were in the water, and that's what was saturated and soaked into the soil. And as the volcanoes came up and created the surface areas and the land masses on the planet, all of these elements were available on the soil and the surface. And this is what has been lost and depleted over the years. So I think it's fascinating to look at these two charts and to see what a difference today's elemental vitality of our soil is as compared to what it used to be and how it was created. Back to you, Dr. Tina.
Exactly. And over on the right, where those white spaces are, we could write in there cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, ADD, anger, autism, depression. All those words could go in where that white space is over on the right-hand side where the elements are missing. And hopefully this will help you connect the dots in your brain and know that we're not only dealing with accelerated aging here, we're dealing with deficiencies that can, when you replenish them, you can make sure that you're expressing your genetic potential. Okay, so it's not our genes that are weak that are creating the disease. It's the deficiencies. Okay, so this is why when somebody says, I do a keto diet, or this just bothers me so much when somebody says, I don't even eat vegetables. I go, what? Where are you going to get all those minerals from? Okay, even though they're still missing in our foods a lot, you need to look at how are you going to supplement and deal with replenishing what's missing that we used to have years ago in our soil, in our food. And as Dr. Chris mentioned, we, our bodies, we're 70% water. And when you look at this, there's so many people that just don't even drink good, pure water. They think that, drinking other things creates hydration, and that is not true. Just pure, good, clean water. Get a liquid mineral and put it in your water. Think about that. There's no more minerals in our waters. And especially if you're drinking reverse osmosis, it's going to take even more of the impurities out, but it's going to take out all the good stuff too. So think about putting minerals into your water before you drink them. Okay, that's going to help a lot. But when we look at the body, 94% of our lymphatic system is water. Our liver is 86%, right? Our bones is 22%. We have to really focus on getting the right amount of water in the body, because our physiology, our functionality depends on that hydration. Okay, Dr. Chris?
Yeah, and Dr. Tina, this water, we hydrate externally, but then it's all part of helping the physiological function. And the water that we're measuring here in the body, this internal ocean, is what the mitochondria make. Because as we make energy, we also make water. And then this is the water that we call the fourth phase of water. We think of water as, steam or liquid or ice. Well, the fourth phase is this internal ocean of water that exists as a living fluid. And this is what we're talking about. this is what gets depleted and lost, because as our mitochondrial function goes down, our internal water, our internal ocean gets depleted. And this is why the role is so significant as far as being energy beings and understanding what the mitochondria do and why we support them with our formulas. This is how we maintain our health and actually revitalize our bodies. So just wanted to get a little more technical there, Dr. Tina.
Sure. And it's interesting, you know, when our muscle declines, our energy declines. And Dr. Chris, you want to talk about that?
Sure, this is what pushes the system out of balance. All diseases are due to our inability to make energy. And so that's what happens. We're making energy, and we're making that very important internal water as well. So nutritional deficiencies or imbalances support that. The toxic accumulation and the toxic burden that we're exposed to today, that's never been more than what it is in our history. And so the key component, as I was explaining earlier, is this loss of mitochondrial function, the loss of the numbers, because as our muscles decline and sarcopenia sets in as we age, we're losing the numbers of mitochondria, and the vitality and function of those mitochondria is lost. So you see this direct correlation again to our musculature and our ability to maintain our youth and vitality. So the hierarchy of all the different systems are compromised. So you see the nervous system and the endocrine system, they start to lose their signaling and communication. And so dealing with all these environmental and emotional stressors that we see that have been accelerated and actually increased so much in today's society are really the issue. Dr. Tina, you want to add?
I do. When you look at these 6 points that you have here, Telloyouth really supports all 6 of them, helps with deficiency, even though you need more minerals in addition to Telloyouth. Helps your liver so that it can move the toxins back out of the body, increases mitochondria. We put in the signaling, the molecules with Telloyouth, and then with the chronic external stressors, the environmental stressors, we can handle those, and the emotional stress so much better. So this is why it's such a great foundational formula to help with these, so that your body can get out of that stress mode and get back into making energy and building muscle. So important. Go ahead, Dr. Chris.
And this is what the energy crisis looks like, and so much of our issues today are dealing with obesity, and we know that when you're obese, you have chronic inflammation. But the complexity of obesity is really a compromised metabolic pathways. And that's what all the different areas are reflecting here as the fat accumulates in the body. You see the pancreas, the liver, the macrophage, the brain, all the different areas of the body are compromised. And here's how it starts out is that, we have the natural ability to store fat underneath the surface in the subcutaneous layers of our body. And that's a good thing because it's just like an energy reserve. But when that subcutaneous layer becomes overwhelmed with an excess of fat, it loses the ability to exchange and use the fat for energy. So it's like this fluctuation of storing the fat and using it for energy gets lost, and all of a sudden we can't make energy anymore, and it just stores more and more. And as it overwhelms the subcutaneous system, it builds into the viscera, and this is the areas around the organs, and then it goes within the organs, and the organs are compromised. And now you're seeing the fat deposits throughout the body. And here's something that I don't think that the most of us realize is that the recent studies have shown that that if a mother is obese at the time of the birth of a child, the child is more likely to be obese due to the inherited compromised metabolic pathways. So this is why we talk about metabolism. It's a complex issue, but it essentially is the way we make energy throughout the body in all the different ways. So when these pathways get compromised with the accumulation of fat, we see how it's inherited in generation after generation. So it's not a genetic change as much as it is what changes rapidly through lifestyle. And when you look at our culture today, you can look at photos back in the 1930s and the 1950s and compare those to the photos in the 2000s and 2020, and you see a culture that is so much more obese, and that obesity is being passed on through the generations, next generation. So really important to understand, how the mother's health impacts that child, and they have to work so much harder to deal with their weight issues because their metabolic pathways are compromised. Dr. Tina.
Yes, and we have normalized obesity in this country, and I think it's criminal because is so hard on the body and the family and the health system. And we need to rethink how we're dealing with obesity, fat in our bodies, excess fat that is not healthy. That accumulation that you were talking about earlier, Dr. Chris, holds toxins in our body. It has its own signaling mechanism, signals to our brain that we need to eat more to create more of the fatty deposits. There's insulin resistance that happens. It's just a cascade of, degrading health and watching your mitochondria, that battery that in our body just go down and just deplete us as well.
And Dr. Tina, our culture makes it so hard to overcome because of how we've created our processed foods and our fast food industry and the toxins that just force the body to make fat to store those toxins. So what are some of the solutions?
Right, exactly. So more fat means less mitochondrial health. And we're talking about mitochondrial health for longevity. And if you're not exercising, you're truly losing the ability to utilize energy for oxidation, which is how we create energy by utilizing the food that we eat. Okay, so we need to move, we need to exercise. And when we become sedentary and gain that body fat, again, it's not just in the periphery, it's in the deeper levels. Okay, so what do you need to do? You need to get out there and move, increase your circulation, get the lymphatics moving, start sweating again, get your breath rate up there. All of this is going to jumpstart your kidneys for, good elimination. It's so interesting. People will say, how come, I'm taking my Tello유스 and I'm working out and I'm doing things now. Why do I have to go to urinate so often? I'm like, great, fantastic. Your kidneys are working again. All of the other elimination areas, digestion and bowel movements. And also, we reduce stress and anxiety when we exercise. It increases all of those good, healthy hormones. So if you're not doing exercise right now, just get started with stretching or doing something that's going to just jumpstart your body to get into that whole movement phase. And one of the best ways that you can burn fat through exercise is resistance training. In other words, using bands or just even body weight with push-ups, and then move yourself gradually into adding weight. That's also going to really build your bones to be strong. So in combination, it's not just one thing. Get started with resistance exercise and walking. So do this every other day between these two, and then add in high intensity interval training or sprint interval training. High intensity interval training is going to be something like getting on a treadmill and increasing run or very fast walk, or bring up the elevation of the treadmill and get your heart rate up there for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then bring it down. Go back to just a slow recovery walk for a minute. Then do the high intensity again for another 20 to 30 seconds. Then bring it down and rest, and do this 8 times in a row. This is also going to help your body to just jumpstart burning the fat, the different layers of fat that you're holding within your body. Dr. Chris, I know you want to talk about that sprint interval training.
And it's really about, first of all, starting slow. Like all the things, we change our lifestyle, and not overnight, but gradually introduce these new ways of living your life, and have your body adjust. And as it adjusts, it regains the strength, because guess what? Your mitochondria are building back into your muscles, and your muscles are getting stronger and more developed. And then this allows you to do that, the high intensity interval training. So uh, just anything that extends the normal function of the muscle requirements. So lifting a weight, or doing that treadmill, like Dr. Tina was saying, instead of maybe just increasing the speed, you can just increase the elevation, so that you're going uphill, and that's what creates the intensity, the higher intensity of the training. So get away from the old Jane Fonda, put on your leotards and your sweatband and do the aerobic exercise. It's so much more than the aerobic exercise. The aerobic exercise is good, but it really needs to be complemented with the high intensity interval training that Dr. Tina is introducing here. And this allows you to form the muscles again, because the aerobic won't do that. It helps you with the cardiovascular and the oxygen exchange, but the resistance training, the intensity and the increase of that intensity, is what causes those mitochondria to uh, start to biosynthesize, to create themselves and build into the muscle and build the muscle again. So you're helping to feed this new organ that we've discovered here. It's the organ of the muscles that plays a key role in longevity and revitalization. Dr. Tina.
Hey, I love Jane Fonda in aerobic training, and that headband and leotards. That's so great. I remember those days in the 80s. Um, and you need to just take a look at overall the healthy biohack here, the ultimate biohack. And Dr. Chris, how would you help people with this?
Yeah, this is all in one place here. We a nice little reminder of the things we've been talking about here over the last couple of months. Adopt a time restricted eating uh, lifestyle, where you can even consider fasting if you're healthy enough. And what that does, it allows your body to detoxify and cleanse. So with the addition of good water and minerals that we're introducing here today, you can just have that good diet, but that diet is consumed within a window of time, so that you have maybe just 8 hours of feeding time and another 16 hours of your body regenerating and cleansing and sleeping, and just getting back its vitality. And this is a way you rejuvenate. So adopt a good food plan. And, the Mediterranean diet has been shown to be one of the best. And this is where you replace the processed carbs and the grains with, good grains and good greens and plant fats, and, the good proteins that you need, and the vegetables that are raised above the ground, because those that are in the ground are the tubers and are full of starch. And they're appropriate at a certain time, but not when they're overly processed. And of course, the good sleep quality, sleep in a dark environment so that your body knows it's nighttime and it signals the endocrine system to stop making the cortisol and start making the melatonin. So, getting back into a good circadian cycle, that's exposing yourself to the morning sunlight, and that's natural red light therapy. When you get to that morning sun and that sunset sun, that evening sun, this is good regulation of your circadian cycles, and again tells your body, tells your endocrine system, tells your immune system what it needs to do next, because they work with these cycles. And if you don't have the opportunity, or you live in the higher altitudes like I do here in Reno, red light therapy plays a key role, because it replaces what isn't there in the wintertime with the morning sun and the evening sun. So red light therapy has been shown to be a key the activator of your mitochondrial function. So now you're making more mitochondria and you're stimulating them and feeding them with the red light. Cold exposure, this is the cryotherapy that's often referred to, and building that resistance and that integrity in your body. And it's another incredible way to build your mitochondria, because your mitochondria are used to make heat. So they have an energy function as well as a heat producing function. And the exposure to cold on a temporary basis allows you to retrain the body to be more resilient and hardier. Of course, breath work and comes naturally with the exercise, but when you're not exercising, notice how you're breathing. Are you a shallow breather, or are you able to breathe deep and use the full capacity of the integrity of your lungs? And this is what we mean by breath work. There's all kinds of techniques that are out there today that show you how to build these different areas of your body and working with these different practices. Dr. Tina, anything you want to add?
Yes, and hydrate and add those minerals into your daily regime. Okay, Dr. Chris, let's run through this.
So let's wrap it up here and just show you some examples. Here's an individual that was overweight, essentially had metabolic syndrome. Remember, we talked about just the compromised metabolic system. And so when he started shifting his metabolism by reducing his feeding window, he would like consume 4 of the tello유스 early in the day, and he actually took 12 at night. It's almost like is replacing his evening meal, and this allowed to him to take the advantage of the intermittent fasting while he's getting that high integrity of these proteins that are in the tello유스. And daily exercise, of course. So now you see he incorporated all the things that we shared here with you here today, and he built muscle and lost fat. And just what an incredible change here, Dr. Tina.
69 pounds in what, a month and a half, maybe here? Incredible. So you can see that his body's now, that's less energy, that the body's trying to be in survival mode and to have more energy to do other things in life. Yeah,
exactly.
And then let's take a look at this beautiful young lady. She's definitely into working out and taking good care of herself, but could not get leaner, and decided to incorporate 8 tello유스 twice a day. She did jump into the keto diet and intermittent fasting. Again, the intermittent fasting so that her body could rest and clean up the senescent cells. And she lost 11 pounds in 3 weeks. That is fantastic. Okay. What's important to note here is that if you're going to be jumping into a keto diet, make sure that you're not doing it forever, a long time. mix it up, and eventually I tell people do keto 5 days a week, and the other 2 days, get more carbs in, because your body does need the carbs, and it will adjust, and you'll actually burn more fat doing this. So it's just not one strict way of doing it. This is how she jump started her body. And the other thing, as we're closing up here, in the history of our species on Earth, no species has ever gone extinct due to their bad genes. Not ever. It's because their habitat was ruined, and that's what we're doing. So that's what destroys species. And so we need to really step back and take a look at the proper foods, nutrition, lifestyle choices, all of the things that we're doing, so that our genes can stay that super powerful gene, health and well-being that they are. Okay.